Welcome to Love Liaisons, the ultimate deep dive into the highs and lows and hilarities of modern relationships. I am Kathryn.
And I'm Marina, and we'll be your love liaisons. So pour yourself a nice glass of wine
Or a hot cup of tea.
and let's dive in.
So, welcome, Gal. We have a wonderful guest here, which we're going to introduce in a second. But Marina, I've got to ask you, what do you have there? What are you drinking today?
I'm having a nice glass of Skinny Girl white wine because I think today we're going to be talking about fitness and relationships. Yeah. And what about you, Kathryn? What are you drinking?
I have a dandelion liver tea to cleanse out my stomach here since I just got back from a trip. Today we have a very special guest with us, a physical performance coach who brings not only expertise, but a powerful personal story. Gal originally came to the United States to visit family, but what started as a visit turned into a life-changing move when he relocated here in 2015. He was born in Bat Yam, Israel, and he also served in the IDF. His journey into fitness and performance coaching really took shape after experiencing his own failed ankle recovery. Ouch. A challenge that pushed him to grow, learn, and ultimately help others move and perform better. He's traveled all over the world. He has a passion for skateboarding and gives back in meaningful ways, volunteering with everyone from the youth to the elderly, and even contributing to cancer research efforts. That's amazing. So we're excited to dive into his story, his mindset, and his impact he's making. So welcome to our podcast, Gal.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
And what are you drinking today? Do you have something there?
Yeah, it's a very unique coffee, instant coffee. It's an Israeli brand called Elite, and it's the most popular one. And I mix it up with almond, so it's like a instant coffee, Israeli instant coffee with almond milk. I have it hot today, but it can go both hot or cold.
Okay, wonderful. So we're going to get into what a performance coach really does. I think a lot of people hear the words performance coach and immediately think that they have six packs and protein shakes. But your work really seems more like emotional life changing. So describe to me, Gal, what you actually do for your clients, for the people you work with.
Yeah, of course. Before diving into that, it's so important that you're mentioning it when it comes to the psychology aspect of it. Some people are really triggered by specific words. And to be honest with you, many people don't like the words performance because they feel like they're on a test. They need to perform. And if they're not performing well enough, they're going to be downgraded because maybe the trainer or the coach is like very in shape and they're not. So they're going to be kind of like in a shame. And it's a conversation they have with themselves without even involve me in this whole thing. So I have to be extra empathetic towards them and mention that the whole idea with performance is that we really care about tracking and measuring progress. So it's not that you're going to be tested every single moment of the session, but we will be honest about the effort that you're putting and the progress that you're making. At this day and age, we still have many facilities, professionals out there who might not track as much. And I always challenge everybody to track more and to showcase to your clients. They're going to be happy that there's extra weights that they're lifting and there's extra ability to balance something. And everyone wants to make sure that there's something happening. No one wants to participate for like a couple of weeks or a couple of months without actually feeling that something is progressing. So I think in general, in psychology, people enjoy most when there's some sort of progression towards something.
That is really amazing, Gal. And I just love what you do. And I think a lot of people don't even realize that they possibly could need a performance coach that would really help them just get started with their journey and help them be more confident. And speaking of confidence and self-image, do you notice confidence changing before the body even fully changes?
So I would say there's a few different types to confidence, and I will split it into two things. One is that when I teach group fitness classes, people come to the class and they sometimes come like they're not sure what's going to happen. It's going to be really intense. Are we going to sweat? Are we going to hurt ourselves? We're not going to understand how to do the activities really well. Are we going to be judged? Not by the coach, by other people next to us. There's a lot of things that people think during that activity. So I always tell people to focus on themselves. And it's really amazing to see them 45 minutes after, when they're more proud. They woke up and their chest is out and tall. And they really, you see the confidence they have. Oh, I did it. I actually finished the class and it was good. Maybe I got a compliment from the coach as well about my technique, my form, or that I was able to pick the next weight higher to do more than what I, limiting myself maybe before the class. And to the other part of in-person training is that when people are one-on-one with you, they might share their real struggles and why they don't lift heavier because they got hurt before. So I slowly offer them small increments to expose them. And then when they're able to do it and they're like, okay, yeah, I said I couldn't, but then I did. You're right. And then they start to think, okay, if I did it with weights and I shifted from I'm limiting myself to lifting more, what else in my life will go that way? And I think the most beautiful story I have is one of my clients 10 years ago. She came to work out with me. It started with fitness. And then she said that the real reason is that she wanted to be more in shape and to have more confidence to date someone to marry. And today they're married with 2 kids, which is a lovely story. But it took about, I want to say 3 to 4 months of like working together and spending time. And at the bottom line, it's all about environment. When you have someone positive on your side in your life, things will get better. I was just that individual for her. Like, I'm sure there's so many other people who are bringing positivity and confidence to their clients or loved ones.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring it back to the relationship area. So one of the things I wanted to talk about and ask you, do you work more with men or women or equal? And then also about how fitness plays a role in relationships. And you talked about this situation where you had a woman that gained the confidence to then feel like she looks her best, feels her best, and now that really was able to help her feel confident getting out there, and then she did attract a partner. And then another one about where I see oftentimes people that have been married for a while or have been in a relationship for a while, we're talking about years, and then somebody gains weight or gets out of shape or goes through menopause or other changes, and they don't look like they used to, and their partner maybe feels a certain way about that, maybe criticizes them. I think that support in the fitness journey is very important.
Well, yeah. So I will start with the first one. Equal amount of work with men and women. I was lucky enough that when I started my journey in fitness, there was a need for a trainer also for the youth. So I was working in Tel Aviv and I was in charge of the youth department. And the thing was, it was not so much like hardcore training for them. It was a mix of play and activities so they can be engaged. And the youngest one was, I want to say 12. And the oldest client that I have is 73 at the moment. So it's a big range of both of them. And what I found that was specifically when it comes to women, innovation is amazing what's going on right now. And I'm tailoring my session in so much depth to the cycle of women, to menopause, to other situations that might happen in their life. And it was just not available for people like me, professionals like me in the past. But now it's coming with apps and so many insights and makes it easier on me to adapt the session to make sure that we're still giving 100%, regardless of what's going on in the cycle or other challenges like that, that a man will not, I cannot relate, right? Because I don't have that experience on myself, but I can educate myself and bridge the gap for these individuals. At the moment, I'm training more men than women, but over the years, it was quite equal. The second question, when you said how it's affecting relationships, it's a big part of it because, it's your mood at the end of the day, right? If you have a good mood, that's great. You don't have a good mood, there's a reason for that. At the end of the day, we're in the race rat, right? We go to work with all the responsibilities, kids, other things, projects, and it drains us from energy. If we don't have the strength and the cardio and the stamina to support our bodies, to carry ourselves, to do all these things, it's becoming more challenging. Now, the thing is, what I met a nice couple, I want to say 6 months ago, and they specifically have a business, they work in the business. And they say, you know what, Gal, sometimes we eat good, sometimes we eat bad. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's interesting. Mm-hmm. I bet that when it comes to your business, You don't have a day that you say, one time we're going to work towards the success of our business, and one time we're going to shoot ourselves in the heel for hurting our business. You never do that, right? So why do we do this
That's
to our body?
amazing.
But it was
That's amazing that you say that. What?
I'm telling you, if I had that moment with them as a couple, if you see how their eyes opened up, it clicked. Something clicked there. And it was an aha moment, and they finally realized it. But a business might be cold, right? It's numbers, transactions for the most part, but a human has emotions, ups and downs, regulation, nervous system. It's more complex than a business. So I get it. But at the same time, if your mindset is that I'm going to do my best to support myself at any given time, meaning I'm going to try to consume as much as I can when it comes to the protein and vegetables first before I do carbs. And when I go out, I always recommend it, and that goes in Hebrew and in English. It's yes and less, meaning you're going out to enjoy yourself, have the burger, have the fries, skip the beer. Have the burger, have the beer, skip the fries. Yes and less, enjoy yourself, but find a balance so you can still not abuse the body and make it harder on yourself. And the same thing goes to anything else. You go to night with the girls, okay, have a glass of wine, maybe two. You don't have to finish the bottle yourself. There's ego to be outside of it. And so many examples. And the last questions you had was how it's affecting relationships, like how is physical fitness affecting relationships?
I've seen this scenario multiple times. And actually now I have two female friends that have gone through this where they've been married for a long time and they gained weight. They have multiple children going through midlife changes such as menopause, and their husbands are fit. They don't have menopause. I mean, testosterone does drop and things like that, but it's different. And they were very much criticized, and I have to say even bullied by their husbands about their weight gain and pressured about, why have you gained weight? The husbands go and work out and they're fit, but the wives had changed from when they first met them in their youth, had 2, 3 children and transitioning in various stages of menopause. And so, yeah, they have gained a lot of weight. I mean, objectively, they have. But also, they're responsible for a lot of things in the family. So I've seen situations where husbands have not been supportive and have actually bullied and teased their wives, and taken it a step further, ended up in those 2 cases, those men ended up having affairs with other women.
Now, let me answer that. It's complex, and let's try to figure it out. First of all, where I come in help and where I say, you know what, guys, as much as I care for you, if I train the wife or the husband or the couple together, at some point I will say, guys, you might need to see a therapist, because it sounds to me from the outside that you're not a team anymore. If someone against someone, you're not a team anymore. And that means by definition, you're not working together towards a shared goal. If the husband wants the wife to lose weight and look better, what they can do together to make it work. The habits, the environment, whatever is around them to make it work. If you're just winning by yourself, but your spouse is not winning, then you're not winning as a team. So you got to take a step back, look at yourself from the outside, and sometimes seek help and understand, why are you teasing? Is that a pattern that it was from your upbringing and your family was teasing you, and you use the same patterns on your spouse? Might not be the best for your goals. Maybe shift, maybe have new ways of communicating. If you're so great in shape, maybe invite your spouse to take action with you. And if it's not really working, you're all about lifting weight and go extreme, and she's more of relaxed, maybe the Pilates and the yoga approach, support her in that way. When you go, drop her at the studio or whatever that might be to support her. I personally had a similar situation in my life. And at this point, I said, you know what? I don't have the skills here. We need to have an outsider to come and support us in the relationship to figure out what's going on. I'm not a psychologist, so I cannot pretend to be a psychologist for my partner. Same thing for a wife to her husband. Don't try to figure it out why men behave in a certain way. Just ask simple questions. How can we make it work so we're both happy? And I think with that comes to mind, maybe we can take a few classes together. Maybe I can just join. You can show me some stuff in the gym, but it has to be a principle of positivity towards progress. If you have that, positivity towards progress on your forehead, then things will get better. Again, I'm not blaming anyone for bad behavior. Sometimes it's just upbringing and environment. We can shift and do better. And that both goes for both ways, men and women, because I had some women also judging their husband. So the story goes in both ways.
Yeah, you get the dad bod. And yeah, you said the magic words is support. There really is a tremendous amount of research that shows the importance of support of partners to each other for any goal that they have. And fitness, weight loss is a common goal in long-term marriage for one partner. And if the other partner is not supporting them, whether it be like physically going with them or creating an environment at home or making it possible for the wife or the husband or the partner to alleviate some of the childcare or household duties or work duties where they can actually have time to go and work out.
Absolutely agree with what you said, Marina and Gal, about the support. And then going back to what you were saying before is, first off, people, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Every person is different. I don't think you can just say, I'm going to handle men this way, I'm going to handle women this way, because a woman could look thin. That does not mean she's healthy. Maybe she has underlying health issues. So literally, once you look at blood work, once you look at, do they have depression? What are all these things? And like you said, bringing in outside sources so you have that full encompass look as to what you're dealing with, I think is key. And that's really, it's not just one thing. But to go what you guys just were referring to and talking about, what I want to say is that a lot of people sometimes in relationships think that they did something wrong. And I want to make it real clear for all you listeners out there. Sometimes when your partner is projecting, it's more about their own insecurities. So Marina used the example in these two cases. The man was bullying their wife, and that is more a reflection on him. So when you have a partner that is bullying you or saying things that you feel right here doesn't sound right, don't think that it's necessarily the issue is with you. It may be more with him or her. So always remember that this goes on a deeper level. And I think, with what you do, that's probably when you're like, wow, this is out of my realm. This is something where these insecurities are so deep, it could go back to childhood. There's so many things. It may not just be that she isn't trying to lose weight. Maybe there's other medical issues. Maybe she has a thyroid issue that she needs to do something with her thyroid. Or so you go back to being support. And like you said, wear the positivity cap. And it's true. If you're saying, I got you, babe, I'm with you. What can I do to support you? I'm going to go on this journey and really educate yourself. I think that's probably a lot of what you do as well, Gal, but correct me if I'm wrong. Educate them so they understand that this is not something that's going to happen in a week, in a month. Like you said, you have to be consistent. So what would a process like that look like for the man and the woman?
So I would say before diving into the process, I want to stop and bring a few things together under the same umbrella. And the umbrella is boundaries, right? I recently saw a few videos of a coach that teach kids how to set boundaries. They basically slowly tickle them or do like unpleasant things to them, take their toy, whatever that might be. So the kid gets in the situation when they feel like someone is crossing their boundaries. They don't want to be part of it anymore. And he's teaching them how to say something. And you see in the beginning that he does that, the kid froze. They freeze and then they have a hard time to even like know what they do. And then he tells them and coach them, when something like that is unpleasant to you, you pause and you say, hey, I don't want to be part of it anymore. It's not pleasant to me. Please stop. Now, that's for kids. We don't have that for adults. And if you're already an adult and you don't know how to pause and say, hey, you know what? I don't really appreciate the way you criticize me or judge my being. It's okay if you don't understand me. I'm happy to explain. So like you said, as a woman, I have my thyroid, I have my cycle. I have other things that, that I'm thinking about, and maybe you don't understand because you're not a woman. That's totally fine. I don't want you to really understand me as a woman. Just understand that I'm more maybe complex and we're trying to make it better. But I think if more adults would say, stop, this is unpleasant to me. And one of my boundaries is that in my relationship, and that could be friendship, business, romantic. I don't tolerate judgment. If you have something to support me, suggestions, amazing. But at the end of the day, there's no place for judgment because judgment doesn't help. It's not getting you to a better place. So what's the point? So I think it's better if people will start with boundaries early in any relationships, and then that will get them to a better place of actually making things better. And by the way, it's not a one time and that's it. Same thing like with fitness. You need to show up and do it again. If you lift heavy today or heavier than you used to today, it doesn't mean that you're going to do it the next session. You might need another cue, another reminder of something you did in the past. So you can do it again. Same thing. If someone is still criticizing you or judging you, have empathy towards them and simply ask them, please shift from judging to supporting, and that things will get better.
I really like what you said there. Please shift from judging to supporting. But I wanted to ask, have you seen people leave toxic relationships or stop accepting poor treatment once they become physically, like feeling stronger physically?
Yes and no. I would say that they become more confident in doing things. And sometimes that brings the confidence to offer their partner to be more active and do things like that. But I'm not a fly on their wall to see what's happening in their relationship. And I try to do my best to, it's personal. You work out together, then I hear a lot of things, but I try to filter and get someone to share with me, but also make sure they're focusing on the session as well, because I don't want to turn it into fitness to therapy, because it's important for me. I am on their side, but it's important that we're not digesting or processing their things that are happening in their life outside of the session and focusing on making progress. Again, it's not a black and white, but I tend to do 70 to 80% of the fitness aspect and 20 to 30% of the personal things. That's what I have. I know that some other professionals maybe do 50-50 or 0-100. I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying, find something that works for you and make progress.
It's interesting you talked about boundaries, because in one of the situations that I talked about, this woman a couple of years ago kind of had enough. She snapped. She actually showed up at my door with a suitcase saying, I can't take it anymore. My husband and his family member were teasing me, saying they can't even feel any bones on me. She was not skinny. That's fine. But like, oh, I hug you. I can't even feel any bones in your body. And I said, oh my goodness. And anyway, long story short, in those two situations, after they had gotten out of the relationship, they both did actually lose weight after getting out of the relationship. Losing weight, and one woman, the one who was teased that she can't feel her bones, she's in better shape than I am now. So
There's a reason for that.
yeah, she said a mental weight has been lifted. And then that translates into less cortisol, less stress, and just being able to be free and do it for yourself, be fit for yourself.
Absolutely. Let's talk about something that a lot of people want to talk about, but maybe don't know how to bring it up. And that is intimacy, sex, libido. I think it's really important. And it's so important that a lot of people don't realize sex also helps with so many things with your health. You have a lot more stamina, a lot of this. And so physical fitness, it's not just mental, but being physically able to do things, I think is really key. So does improving physical health actually, though, impact sex drive? Do you have any clients that talk about that? That's a concern?
I will take the topic of physical performance and intimacy and talk about it from what I've seen in different angles. So for example, let's start with the basic one. As we get older, if we're not taking care of our bodies, we're going to lose range of motion in our joints. We're going to lose ability to carry ourselves. And sometimes you might need to carry yourself over another person. And that means you need to use your strength. And when I train some people and I see that they're not able to hold a simple elbow plank for 30 seconds, I know that they probably cannot hold themselves for a longer period of time when they're becoming intimate with someone else. And that means that over time, if you think about someone in their 20s, over the years, as you grow older, lower range of motion, lower stamina, weakness and not as strong, is going to limit your ability to express yourself in being intimate with someone else. And it's not my opinion at the end of the day. It's like everything. If you have a Porsche right now, right? And I change the gasoline consumption, instead of the best gasoline, I'm giving you the worst gasoline. On the next oil change, I'm not going to use synthetic. I'm going to use the cheapest one. Your Porsche will not perform in the same way it was supposed to perform. So if you're not consuming the right amount of nutrients and you're not supporting your machine with all that it's needed, you're not going to be able to hold yourself over another person. You're not going to be able to move enough and have the stamina. And I would say you're going to limit yourself to, I would say, the variety of being intimate with someone. And that will become boring. That will become the same. And that's one of the reasons I believe that anyone in any relationship find it challenging, because the spark is not there, the fire is not there, and it feels all the same. And I've heard some stories from people at some point, they're already like, they're not even being present in the act. And sometimes they might, what's the word for that? Fantasize on other things while being with the individual. So I would say, again, bottom line, if you're not caring for your stamina, your cardio, your strength, and the ability to move well, you're just going to limit yourself from fully expressing yourself. And we're not talking about crazy acrobatic work under the sheet. We're just talking about maybe a few basic things of carrying yourself and supporting the others. So, and again, you don't have to be like the strongest or the most flexible, but you have to take care of yourself, do the mobility and strength and holding positions so you can carry yourself with the individual. And goes to both people, right? Like no one wants to be that lazy person. You don't want to have a nice 50-50. And it goes for both sides in the relationship.
You have to have energy, the energy. Like I've heard some people say, oh, it's great, I love my partner, but like he can last 5 minutes, like he doesn't have the energy. And so it's fine that they're in that, oh, everything's fine zone, but they would like him to have, or her to have, more energy. And like Marina brought up, you've got your housework, your job, your kids, all this, and you're tired at the end of the day. So I would think that being consistent, doing something, whether it's 20 minutes a day in the morning, whatever, with that physical activity, even before kids get up, whatever it may be, I think would help with the energy levels.
So, Kathryn, I have to pause you for a second, because we are assuming that because they're not being active, they're not performing over 5 minutes. We don't know. We don't know if they're still attracted to the partner the same way. If they still do, and that's a physical thing, sure, solve the physical thing, everything is great. But if you're not attracted to your partner like you used to before, you don't want to be as engaged as long as maybe you were engaged in the past. So we really need to take a step back, take this beautiful couple and assign them to a specialist to dive in, to ask them specifically, zero assumptions, all curiosity. What are the reasons why it's not lasting 20, 30, an hour and a half, whatever that might be? And there's going to be a need of more in-depth specific questions. And that's going to include probably sex drive. It's going to include their mood. It's going to include resentment, maybe that they build in themselves that they're not expressing out. There's so many different things that someone like me, a physical coach or performance, will not cover, but will highly suggest to assign them to someone else who can sit with them and dive into exactly what bothers them so they can go into that shift and where, again, the positivity and progress towards something better.
Yeah, and sex therapy is actually a specific type of therapy. I wanted to say one of my favorite fitness influencers that's all over social media speaks to this. It's more of a humorous thing. He even has these t-shirts and motto. It's for women. He says, "You're not heavy, your man is weak." And then he shows himself, okay, how he can lift 130 pounds, which is a very small woman. And then he goes in increments of the weights, 200 all the way up to like 300 something. And then he even has a t-shirt that says, "You're not heavy, your man is weak."
Very nice.
And like all the training, like you said, the training for this, can you deadlift? Can he lift it? Can you lift it over, and then the thrust lift? I don't even know what it's called.
Yes.
That's what I'm calling it. But yeah, certainly. And then in health, fitness, medicine, oftentimes the metaphor has been used for men, especially that basically the penis is the dipstick of health. So men are having trouble with erectile function, that's a real sign of other cardiovascular problems. You need to check your heart. You need to check other serious processes because you should not be having those kind of issues. And so that's often been said that the penis function is the dipstick of physical health overall.
So I don't have much to say about it beside the function of the hip. It seems like when someone doesn't have a great engagement in their abs, their hips is falling and not engaging as well. And some people that affects in the whole area in a bad way, meaning not controlling the ability to hold maybe, or maybe instead of waiting and be strong enough to hold it until they go to the restroom, things are flowing in advance and things like that. That's what I've been encountered in the past while working with some men, but I will not know. Again, I'm not a sex therapist or a specialist, but I know that it improves overall well-being and it improves mood. But when it comes to the things that I'm not a specialist, hey, go schedule something, get your situation together. And then I'm sure the combination of health and fitness and great mood with other assistance specifically to your solutions, if that's going to be boundaries, communication, and intimacy, like you said, a sex therapist, bridge them together and you should have a better life.
And I think another thing that we haven't talked about, but we definitely need to, is food. I'm a foodie, and this is a huge thing. And maybe, Gal, you can talk about, I don't know if you have them speak with a dietitian or you go into what they're eating, but I think talking about their dietary habits, I think is key. Food and emotions are deeply connected. There are people that just eat because that brings them happiness. So there's a lot of stress eating, emotional eating, late night comfort eating, if you will. So how does that part, because that has to be a big part, what they're consuming into also their physical activity. So how is that all connected? How do you connect that?
Sure. I have a questionnaire in the beginning when I work with people, and similar to how I ask people about their past injuries and situations that I need to know about, I can tell you that many people might not be as vulnerable in the beginning on the first session, and they might share maybe 20 to 50% of the full truth. But, when I'm catching up with them a couple of weeks in, couple months into the session, they mentioned, oh, by the way, I have this piece of metal in my ankle, or I have this condition. I was like, what happened on our first conversation when we had this whole thing? And they say, yeah, I didn't want you to go easy on me because I have this limitation, whatever. That's what I'm saying. There's so much that goes into the other person's mind that I cannot control. I can only ask and invite them. But if not ready to come fully, that's okay. When it comes to the nutrition, I asked them, there's a long questionnaire on how do you live your life during the day? How many meals do you have during the day? How many snacks? Do you consume caffeine or not? How many alcoholic drinks you're having during the week? There's any supplements, any things that you take? And then that helps me to see the person as a whole. And then we start to ask specifically what that means. And like you said before, women might be more complex and will consume food differently than men, but we're both the same. We're humans, so it's going to be emotions and also how we handle life. Some people handle life, they have a difficulty, they go to the gym. Difficulty, they order food. It depends how you go about it. And if someone is truly honest with me, we can tackle things and really understand. I will tell you more that it's also about upbringing. If in your household, you used to appetizers, main dish, and dessert in every meal, you're going to expect that. Now in the US, it's very common, but maybe in other places around the world, is not as common. Coming from Israel, growing up in Israel, we didn't have the dessert every meal. We just enjoyed a meal and that's it. So that's important to take into equation when you talk to people and slowly help them to figure it out how we can make it better. And that could be a few days with no dessert, or switch desserts from something that contain a lot of sugar to less sugar, and many other creative solutions to get better.
I would think that would be super key, whether they're just working with you or a dietitian or what have you, is because how are they going to really get to where they need to if they don't know what they're supposed to have for breakfast? Because especially if they start working out more, they may need more protein. They may need more of this. And so I would think that'd be a huge impact as to what they're consuming.
So let me be clear about it. It's more simple than you think. Let's keep it that simple. Any person on a daily basis have their calorie consumption. Let's make it 2,000. So it's easy. 2,000 calories a day. Some calories are going to come from fat, some from protein, some from carbs. Okay. Now we see that many people consume their calories from different places, mostly from carbs and then fat and protein. Now, if we make it better and we say maybe you start with protein first, you might be already full and you will not go into the carbs and the fats and other things. So I would say any individual want to consume, I want to say between, now we mix pounds and kilograms together. And that's basically say, let's keep it to 1.2 to 1.5 gram of protein per kilogram. So for example, for someone weight about 180 pounds, that's going to be about 120 grams of protein a day. So it's not always easy, but if you do your best, that's going to be great. And then if you're consuming that amount of protein first, it's going to support you throughout your activities. If you're more active, less active, it really doesn't matter much as long as you keep enough protein first. And then you consume enough carbs to support your activities, and then fats for overall well-being. It's not as complicated.
That's now I'm understanding, because I just went on a trip with, men and women alike. And when they got back from climbing, canyoneering, or their physical activities, I saw them having carbs. But before, when they went, they had their protein bars or protein shake or whatever it was. So it makes sense, because I'm thinking, why are you eating so much pasta right now? Like, why are you, okay.
Yeah, happy to explain. So especially spending time in the military and with athletes over the years, let's do it this way. If you have extra weight on you, right, that you're trying to lose, if you consume first protein, then you're active, right? You're going to burn fat. And then at the end of the day, you want to be in a caloric deficit at the end of the day. So let's say you had 2,000 in the beginning of the day, right? Consume enough protein. At the end of the day, you had 1,500, meaning 500 minus to the 2,000. You're in a caloric deficit. Then you're going to lose weight. So the other side of people who might be consuming extra carbs for their activities, let's say runners, for example, they might eat a plate of pasta, and that plate of pasta will contain maybe 500 to 800 grams, of calories. Okay. And that 800 grams of calories is going to be out after their run. So at the end of the day, they finish the day on equal. That means they didn't lose weight, they didn't gain weight, they fueled themselves to make sure that it's going to last for their activity. But majority of people are not runners or endurance athletes. So if they start with protein and vegetables and leave the carbs later that day, they should be totally fine, or maybe consume small amount of carbs during the day and use their storage to burn that fat. And again, most important, caloric deficit. You need to have a minus every day that it's comfortable for you to hold. Not 50% less, that's going to be too much. But I want to say about 20 to 25% less works for most people when it comes to losing weight.
I have a question. So is it better to do morning or evening workouts?
It's not so much about what's better. It seems like most people don't have the time to do evening workouts, so they do it first thing in the morning. But some people are just not a morning person, and they're not in the right mood or maybe in the right physical place for them to do their best work. So they might do it later. I would say, figure it out yourself, what works for you. Try working out in the morning, see what works. Try working on the evening, see what works, and then go from there. But again, for anyone out there trying to make a big transformation, you can do transformation without exercising at all, just eating well, but it will not look good. I will say mix it up with the training as well, but slowly put things together. You don't have to figure it out, nutrition, everything in one day. You don't have to figure it out like fitness all in one day. Start with the small things. Am I consuming enough protein every day? Yes, no, let's fix it this week. Or this month, let's work on one small goal to get better. And then throughout 3 to 6 months, suddenly you fix your protein, you fix your strength, you fix your balance, you fix your recovery. You understand that it takes maybe 48 hours for you to recover compared to recovering in one day like you were in your 20s. But don't put so much pressure in figuring out everything at once. Figure out what's the most important thing for me right now, what will be the biggest impact, and then slowly figure out the rest. And this is why I'm not overwhelming clients right away and tell them so many to do as homework. I would say, give me a little bit how much protein you consume. Show me pictures of your food. And it's an important question because when people share with me their food pictures, I see sometimes, especially recently, I saw an image of someone having meat and salad. Okay. And the salad was covered with tahini. It was so much tahini that I explained to my client that it's so much calories just in these 2 spoons of tahini. If they can just shift to 1 tablespoon of tahini, that's going to make a big difference in their life. And slowly over the time, they lose weight just from a small change in their consumption.
Yeah, that's like eating a salad covered in ranch dressing or blue cheese. What's the point?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yet if people remember yes and less, enjoy it, but you don't need extra. You don't need French fries covered with melted cheese and so many things on. You can have a little bit of French fries. You should be fine. But the goal is not to abuse the body and really to support it so it can support you.
Yeah.
Everything in moderation. I think that's a sentiment in everything in life, right? Everything in moderation. That's really helpful. And I think this is all encompassing. Everything that we talked about here. You mentioned boundaries. We talked about confidence, intimacy, emotional health. It's all connected. And so the main thing goes back to ourselves, right? Being confident with ourselves and then kind of going from there, but also being honest. I don't know, I don't want you to see what I'm eating because I think if you saw how much I ate, you'd be like, yeah, you may need to adjust your thyroid, which brings other issues. But I am a person that I consume a lot of food. I have men, like I said, on this trip, there were men that were 6'2", 6'3", and I eat more than them. And I wasn't doing the physical activity. And they're like, where do you put it all? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where I put it all, but I just consume a lot. So I thought, well, maybe I'm eating the wrong foods or what it is. But my doctors don't seem concerned. They're like, well, you seem like you're the right for your height and weight is fine. And they said your blood work came back fine, but it's crazy. I'm not sending you what I'm eating. I'd be scared. You'd be like, wait, you're sending me another picture of another plate of.
Yeah. But think about, Kathryn, what you just shared right now. It's a perfect example of what happens in the real world. Not many people are feeling comfortable to sharing the pictures and images of what they eat, right? But at the same time, if I don't see fully what's happening in your life, I'm going to have a hard time to adjust. It's almost like coming to fix your car and you want to change your brakes, but like, I want you to tell me like how the brakes are, and I don't want you to look at them. I just want to drive my car and tell me how the brakes, but I need to see the pads. I need to see if things are holding, how much left in the brake, right? Like, no, I don't want you to look at the brake. Just drive my car and that's it. The mechanic will say, hey, you're nuts. I need to service the whole thing. But I'm not telling people that they're nuts. I'm just asking politely from them, show me everything you got. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to guide you towards what's going on. And maybe if you eat more, maybe you consume more vegetables on your plate, and it looks like a lot compared to what they consume. And the most important thing is that if your blood work is great, if you're eating well, and you're happy with what's going on in your life, that's amazing. If you need to make small adjustments, then you can also make small adjustments to what you consume. And that's all about it. Nothing extreme.
I like that you have a straightforward approach. I know that you're an immigrant here from Israel. I'm an immigrant from Ukraine. And so it's different from this really kind of a soft American approach where you want to make sure not to hurt anybody's feelings. And sometimes you just have to tell people, cut it out. Cut it out with the extra tahini, extra ranch dressing, extra dessert. Eating, having a Starbucks, whatever, caramel crunch frappuccinos every day. That's pure sugar. It's garbage. And you're not fat shaming them. You're just telling them the truth. And I think too many times there's a challenge. Sometimes you need a soft, compassionate approach. And sometimes from Buddhist traditions also that I integrate into my work, you need something called the Zen sword. Sometimes you need the sword of truth, and sometimes you need a soft approach. So I like that you seem to use this Zen sword sometimes, like, hey, look, you wouldn't put this in your car. You wouldn't just put a bunch of trash in your car. Why are you putting it in yourself?
Yeah, 100%. And again, it comes down to find the balance, right? Because it's a culture thing as well. And I can tell you that culture in Israel is very different than the culture in the US, right? Like the pros and cons of being direct, straightforward, but also living in New York City for 9 years and now living in California for 2 years. There's also another shift into how people handle things. And unfortunately, some people will work with a professional and it feels good, but there's no progress. And some people, they stay stuck in this situation because they feel bad right now. They created this relationship with the individual. They feel good about it. They give the compliments. They talk with them. Maybe they hear about all their problems, but at the end of the day, they don't see results. And I say, don't worry about it. You can keep your provider, but come to me for the realness. Come for me to tracking progress. Come to me to have that straightforward approach with finesse. The goal is not to just like to be in front of someone's face and just like tell them how bad they do. And this way people can do it. And some of my clients still, they go to group class and they still work with me, or they follow online programs, for example, and they still work with me. It doesn't mean that you cannot keep what's already going well in your life. Just mix it up with something that track the progress and actually gets you to see results, because we're all investing time and money into making our life better. And I want to make sure that someone is actually getting what they're investing into.
Speaking of tracking progress, how long, once they get to the point where they're content and they said, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at now, how many check-ins do you do? I mean, do you do this for a lifetime? Will you check on them in a lifetime, or how does that work?
Try to ask more specific questions when it comes to tracking their performance, their physical performance, or their body fat.
Everything. I mean, I know every case is different, but let's say someone says, okay, I'm eating the way I need to. I have a plan put in place there. I have a plan for my physical activities, what I'm doing every day, and I'm happy where I'm at. And now I just want to be consistent. Would you check on them like in a month and just say, hey, how are things still going? Are you still happy where you're at? Or how does that work?
I've never heard about someone saying that they're very content with everything in their life. Most people want to lose a little bit more body fat. Most people want to gain a little bit more muscle and improve their performance. And most people also want to reduce pain and discomfort in their joints. At this point, including myself, I've never met one person that says, I'm okay with everything. Just check on me in a month or 6 months. Everyone wants, and everyone have something, even if it's, I don't know, 5 pounds of weight to lose. Maybe it's something that lingers in one of your joints that you want to alleviate for good and live without pain. And that might be keeping up with the family and actually finish the hike and be confident to say, hey, I'm going to go on that hike. It's typically double than what I'm used to do, but I won't have the confidence to do it with my friends. I don't want to be the one to say, oh, I got plans, and lie, because you cannot keep up with the rest of the group and go on an 8-mile hike instead of just the 4-mile hike that you currently do. So at this point, I never met one person in my life that said they're okay with everything that they have. It's these 3 things: pain, losing the fat, or improve their physical performance. Not in my case.
So it's a lifetime commitment. It's like when you get married and you say your vows. They're vowing to Gal, like, I will be committed, that I will do this. And will you say to them if they are falling short? You know you have the plan put in place for that individual. And if you see that they're not doing what they're needing to do, what does that conversation look like?
Yeah, every 6 weeks you have a discussion and you say, hey, okay, if we're seeing progress on how much you lift or on how much you're improving in your physical performance, but not so much on how much you're losing weight or body fat percentage, we need to ask why. Sometimes for women, it's going to be more complex, like we mentioned before, menopause, thyroid, cycle, than men. But if something is not changing and it's an industry thing, it's not my opinion, for the most part, people who really do what they're supposed to do, they can lose between 1 pound to 2 pounds a week if everything is going well. And that's a mix of nutrition and physical activity. And again, remember before the minus on the calorie deficit every day, that's the number one. And if that's not happening and things are still changing, still the same after 6 weeks, you got to be honest and ask yourself, and maybe the client didn't share that they're snacking some more cereal at the end of the night, or maybe there's like a couple of almonds or something like that, or whatever that might be. But you got to be honest with yourself. And this is where the images of the pictures are coming into place. And then an image might come up and you see a slice of pizza with a can of Coke. Again, zero judgment. I'm just asking specifically, what was that scenario and how can we do better? And yeah, it's not always easy, and it takes quite a few weeks for people to slowly adjust. You know, it's a change. It's not happening immediately, but I want to say after 6 weeks to 3 months, there's a shift and people start to lose weight, and each journey is unique. Sometimes it goes like really nice over the months, maybe a few bumps, and some people might go like really well, then stuck, then go well again, then stuck. It's not the same for everybody, but if you keep the principle of being as honest as you can and do the best in any given time, meaning at home, outside in the restaurant, and vacation, you should make progress and be very happy with your efforts.
So it's important to be honest with yourself and then also with your trainer, your therapist.
Mhm.
It's like anything else. I had a friend who found out she had a kidney disorder. And so she found out it was in her family. And she had to completely readjust her eating. She would eat these huge spinach smoothies. Well, that had to go because you can't have that with a major kidney issue. So it's like anything else. Why does it take for a person to have a major medical problem to make that transition when you can start now and work with Gal, performance coach, and be, instead of being reactive, being proactive? So I think that's amazing. And is there any last thoughts or any last things that you would like to say to future clients or people who are thinking about maybe wanting to use your resources, or how they would go about what their first steps would be?
Yeah, happy to. It's as simple as just start with following me. My name, Gal Yefet, on all socials. And I would say that the main thing that I see is when people just come and try, that's the main big difference. Then they see that it's not so intense. Then there's someone else, someone there to support them. And they have an experience of someone actually tracking where they are right now and see the progress they share with them as they go about it. And then I also have clients that I train online. So that means that you're not limited to just doing something in person with me. I have clients in other states and other places around the world, and we just place the phones and I give them instructions. So you can think about it. If you have a gym in your building and you don't know what to do, you jump on a video call with me and I guide you through the whole thing. And some people leave their phone in the beginning of the room, and then I see the whole thing and they have their headphones, and I go with like, okay, this machine, this height for the seat, this amount of intensity or so much weight, and we do it. And some clients of mine, they travel, right? So when they're not here physically in person, they travel and they're in a gym in a hotel, somewhere in Texas, somewhere in New York. And it's like, hey, Gal, look at this. This is what I got for today. What are we doing? And then I guide them right away to what needs to happen. Typically start with a nice cardio warm-up, some mobility drills, and then go to do the best that we can with what we have in our surrounding.
So you can have a little gal wherever you are. That's fabulous.
Yes, yes. And the beauty of it, then after some time, they gain the confidence to actually use different things. They kind of like, oh, I remember that with Gal, we did the warm-up, we do some mobility, and then we tackle the exercises with big muscle groups, and then the rest of what we need, maybe managing some injuries. But now they're like, okay, I remember this. I can do some of my own, even when I'm not working with Gal. And suddenly someone just learned. If you learn how to cook, if you learn how to work out, if you learn how to handle something better, maybe a travel itinerary, it takes someone to show you and keeps you in this whole, like, involve you in this. You don't have to immerse yourself, but some involvement changes a lot. What will happen if you meet twice a week with a chef in your kitchen and you cook together? You'll become a better cook. There's no question about it. And it's the same thing with me. The more you spend time with me, the more you're going to learn how to activate your body to the fullest and enjoy it. And people stay because of their relationship.
Yeah.
And they handle it.
And you're a good cook too.
I just like fusion. I just like to mix it up, different cultures and different types of dishes together. I got lucky when in my house, shakshuka was a big thing to make. So I like to make it to new friends or people who like to cook as well. And sometimes if they're coming from a different background, we mix together the dish. So for example, we have shakshuka as the base, or maybe they have something, maybe they're Polish and they have pierogies. So maybe we're going to have pierogies and shakshuka together and we mix things up. So I like to be creative this way. And so far it turns out to be really well. And even with the Swiss friends that I recently cooked with, we just used a Swiss cheese in the shakshuka and it was amazing. So yeah, for a different episode.
So really no excuses. No excuses for not going on this fitness journey. Thank you so much for all of your information, and thank you for tuning in. And of course, don't forget to like us on Facebook and social media at Love Liaisons.
I'm going to take a sip of my tea.
And I'll have another little sip of my wine.
Thank you so much, Marina. And thank you so much, Marina and Kathryn, for the invite. I'll finish my coffee. It was lovely chatting with you guys today.
Yeah. So keep sipping,
Keep loving.
keep laughing.
Cheers for now.
From
From your love liaisons. Liaisons. All